it's changed the landscape of fashion.
What do you think is the state of American fashion?
I think fashion's fashion. I mean, I think everything is sort of global at this point. I mean, in that sense, I don't really love those words like global. And American, I don't know what an American is anymore. You know, what is American? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I travel, most people I know travel. People who I know love fashion also love music, they also love art, they also love theater. You know, they like the art of living and things that aren't necessity are just such a wonderful thing, and fashion being one of them. I think it's just, again, it's just human.
The name Marc Jacobs is now synonymous with the aesthetic of avant-garde fashion with a streetwear twist. Labelled as one of the world's most influential designers, the magic behind his brand essentially stems from the fact that he does not follow the rules. Jacobs' anti-establishment, anti-adult, and anti-slick attitude has become a cornerstone of his eponymous high fashion label. The brand is marketed toward the urban woman, who mixes downtown attitude and uptown glamour. The cool girls of the red carpet. From introducing grunge at Perry Ellis to Louis Vuitton. For more than 2 decades, Marc Jacobs has reigned as one of the most exciting and talented American designers of his generation. And along with Tom Ford and Alexander Wang, is one of the only true successors to the American fashion mantle of Calvin, Donna and Ralph.
I said I wanted absolutely no set. And I wanted no runway, no flooring, no nothing. I wanted no lighting within the armory. I wanted absolutely nothing. I felt like whatever light there was within the armory was sufficient light to see the clothes. And I felt that if there were the armory runs from Lexington Avenue to Park Avenue, so it's a full city block. And I felt if the girls walked in from the Lexington Avenue entrance all the way through to Park Avenue, it's a real long walk. And then I felt that if they left the armory, if they continued to walk and everybody was on each side of them, they would see the clothes as they passed by, and it would be an intimate kind of experience.
But once upon a time, he was just Marc Jacobs, a kid from a non-observant Jewish family in central New York. Growing up, Jacobs never had it easy. His father died when Jacobs was just 7, and his mother, who had been married 3 times, was mentally ill and largely absent. By the time Jacobs became a teenager, he had been whisked off to live with his paternal grandma, where he finally experienced all the glitz and glamour he'd been missing in his adolescence. Now residing in an apartment aptly named The Majestic on the Upper West Side in the late 70s, Jacobs was just a stone throw away from all that New York City had to offer. And New York in the 70s had a lot to offer.
Looks great, huh? From here, everything looks great. But things aren't always what they seem.
Revered for its dangerous, edgy, and exciting aesthetic, it was a time when outcasts flocked to the city for a fresh start. As long as you were willing to brave the blistering cold winters and accept the fact that a mugging or 2 was part of the lifestyle, then New York didn't discriminate. In fact, the wilder the hair, clothes, and personality, the better. It was during these years that Jacobs spent in Manhattan, where he began to foster an interest in fashion. He attended the High School of Art and Design, while also working as a stockboy at a clothing boutique called Charivari. Described as a cult boutique of fashion's cutting edge, Charivari brought avant-garde clothes to the previously unfashionable Upper West Side of Manhattan, and in the process helped revolutionize retail and fashion itself. Originating from humble beginnings, Charivari sold respectable clothes in a less than respectable neighbourhood. It was the perfect blend of the streets and culture. Its rise to prominence coincided with the gentrification with the Upper West Side. Jacobs got in at the ground floor and witnessed firsthand the powerful combination of street style and high fashion. And while the avant-garde boutique has long been defunct, its aesthetic has lived on through Jacobs himself. Jacobs' career really began to kick-start when he attended the famed Parsons School of Design, where he launched his first line of hand-knit sweaters through Reuben Thomas Inc., under the Sketchbook label. Jacobs then joined business partner Robert Duffy to start Jacobs Duffy Designs Inc. in 1986. The same year, he launched the first collection under his eponymous name Marc Jacobs and became the youngest designer to ever be awarded the CFDA Paris Ellis Award for New Fashion Talent in 1987. The following year, Jacobs and Robert Duffy joined the women's designed unit of Perry Ellis as creative director, vice president, and president respectively.
This collection is about different types of people in different styles of dress that is LA, and I think that the idea of styling and putting clothes together is much more interesting than any one particular fashion trend.
Jacobs worked for the brand for 4 years before he was infamously fired for a grunge-inspired collection that failed. Though, while most people would be deterred by the failure, Jacobs has instead made grunge a recurring theme throughout his designs. Correctly guessing its popularity with his main demographic, people who wear his clothes from day to night, rather than those who wear designer clothes once, only to dry clean them and preserve them in a garment bag for all eternity. From the depths of dismissal, Jacobs soared.
Marc and Robert are a perfect pair because they're extremely close, but then again, they're very different. And all creative forces need someone that can respect imagination and take chances. And me and Marc, I think it's important to find people that are not scared to believe in someone that's rebellious and someone that wants to continue to make a difference and stand out and be different. And Robert really is all of this to Marc, and it's amazing to be a part of and to watch.
Alongside his growing brand, he was also made creative director of Louis Vuitton for over a decade, where he transformed the French trunk maker into a fully fledged high fashion label. It could be said that he was the very first fashion tastemaker or hired gun, brought in from the outside to bring life back to a moribund maison.
Steven Sprouse was always a real fixture in New York nightlife and in New York City as an artist and as a fashion designer and as a personality and a presence. And when he started showing his clothes, I became very aware of him and his whole entourage, which included Stephen Meisel, Terry Toy, Debbie Harry, etc., etc. He elevated the idea of what was streetwear into something that was considered high fashion. He worked in the finest fabrics, had beautiful quality workmanship, and he did things that were not based on cost or commerciality. He did things that were based on pure aesthetic and an expression of an idea. I did my best in a very first-degree way to imitate what I think Stephen would have done or has done in terms of fashion. And so I took very basic pieces like the Balmacan that he always loved, and we put the monogram inside and we put his graffiti over it, or we made a little t-shirt dress with a singular engineered print in fluorescent colors. The sneakers or the trainers that look kind of like ski boots, like basket sneaker or basketball sneakers, ski boots, futuristic, Velcro. I tried to use the things in Stephen's vocabulary and give it the shape, silhouette, and styling that Stephen would have done when he was at the top of his game, in terms of fashion and designing. So it really is a complete homage and a complete combination of what is Vuitton and what is this legendary icon, and then what are the icons and the lasting aesthetics that Stephen left in the fashion world.
It was this period of time where Marc Jacobs really reigned supreme. During both New York and Paris fashion weeks, the entire world looked to him to capture the zeitgeist and amaze them. And with his rock concert-style runway shows, he delivered season after season.
It's a triumph for him, don't you? I think it was, you'll write your own review.
Marc Jacobs, I've loved his work forever. He's like watching Scorsese or Spielberg.
I'm sitting on the Louis Vuitton Express and I'm a little bit dazed because I feel like Marc Jacobs just took us on the fashion trip of a lifetime.
With edgy collaborations from Japanese contemporary artist Takashi Murakami and fellow designer Stephen Sprouse, Jacobs' tenure at the helm of Louis Vuitton saw a quadrupling of business.
The synergy between art and fashion is getting stronger all the time, and nowhere was that in greater evidence than at the recent opening of a spectacular exhibition by Japanese artist Takashi Murakami at LA's Museum of Contemporary Art. The opening night was crawling with celebrities who came out to celebrate Murakami's work. The Tokyo-born artist has exhibited all over the world, but is possibly best known for his 2003 collaboration with Marc Jacobs for Louis Vuitton. Together, they created an incredibly successful line of monogram bags, and Murakami created a short animated film to promote the label.
Together, Jacobs and Stephen Sprouse pioneered a new kind of high fashion handbag, one that was outfitted in scrawled graffiti. The words Louis Vuitton proudly contrast against the edgy street art style.
I had this idea to kind of deface the monogram, and I wanted to do that with graffiti, which to me was always a kind of defiant act and a rebellious act and an anarchic act, but also something that creates a new surface and a new meaning with something old. So I thought whose hand and whose graffiti would mean something to me, and of course I went back to Stephen, who had always used graffiti.
The graffiti collection was again emulated in the autumn of 2006 and 2008, when Jacobs utilized Sprouse's 1987 graffiti leopard images for handbags, shoes and scarves, which sold out instantaneously. Jacobs continued to pursue new collaborations with cutting-edge artists throughout his time at Louis Vuitton. In 2002, he began what became a long-standing collaboration with Takashi Murakami. The partnership first arose when Jacobs sought to inject a bit of colour and a new sense of style into Louis Vuitton's famous bags, which had traditionally leaned towards a black and brown aesthetic. Together, Jacobs and Takashi Murakami released a multi-core collection that featured a reinterpretation of Louis Vuitton's classic monogram in pink, greens, blues and yellow on both black and white canvas. The new collection quickly became a hit, and it showed up on the arms of Jessica Simpson, Naomi Campbell and countless other noughties darlings. But what really defined Jacobs' time with Louis Vuitton was his introduction of women's clothing to a luggage brand, particularly through his development of his ready-to-wear line. A minimalist collection consisting of neutral colours and few bags. This new compilation was made to fit the conventional woman, with clothing categorised by standardising sizing, rather than custom-made fits. Jacobs' distinctive Fashion Week shows are another core feature of his legacy, which has continued to elevate the brand to its place of American fashion royalty. His new, ready-to-wear line is often the hero of the show, with Jacobs continuing to push expectations and boundaries. But a Marc Jacobs Fashion Week show is as much about the spectacle as it is the clothing. In 2006, Jacobs enlisted a Penn State marching band to start the show with their rendition of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. In a similar vein of awe-inspiring theatrics, Jacobs' 2012 show was outfitted with a giant 3D paper castle. With the help of artist Rachel Feinstein, the set was transformed into one that resembled a castle, made out of construction paper in shades of blue and grey. The runway curved away from the masterpiece in a white version of the yellow brick road, with paper fountains lining the walkway. The accompanying collection did not disappoint. The 2012 ready-to-wear line was similarly outfitted with shades of grey, blue and white, though a much-needed pop of colour was expertly woven through the collection through oversized mink hats and big buckled shoes. Think Alice in Wonderland, but in the blistering cold. Jacobs created pieces for women that they didn't even know they needed yet. When a bibbed, tea-length Peter Pan collared dress in a deep cerulean lace sauntered down the runway in the autumn of 2004, it suddenly became a hot commodity. Likewise, only Marc Jacobs can sell a short-sleeve pyjamas sundress covered in iridescent pink sequins. This is because Jacobs made American luxury newly relevant, while also making it accessible. Jacobs held the position as a creative director at the LV house for a record-breaking 16 years. But after reworking Louis Vuitton's image, designing the ready-to-wear line, and collaborating with some of the best contemporary artists of the era, he decided to leave in 2014 to focus on his own brands, Marc Jacobs and Marc by Marc Jacobs. Unfortunately, in the last decade, Marc Jacobs' reign has begun to crumble. Some pundits have sensed that he started to lose his way. For decades, Jacobs had a remarkable ability to predict what people wanted before they knew themselves. But now he is the one who seems to not know. In recent years, he admitted he fell out of touch with what today really looks like. In 2018, it was estimated that Jacobs' brand had been losing more than $61 million annually for the past few years. In 2015, Marc by Marc Jacobs folded, soon followed by a plethora of Marc Jacobs retail stores worldwide. In fact, for the epitome of a New York fashion label, it now has no flagship in the city, beyond a modest boutique in Soho. But perhaps what is the most damning indictment that Marc Jacobs' brand is struggling is the departure of Robert Duffy, Jacobs' longtime business partner and the driving force behind Jacobs' rise. Duffy and Jacobs' collaboration has spawned more than 3 decades and began before either of them achieved the fashion notoriety that they hold today. A representative for Mr. Duffy remains on the board, but his day-to-day duties were ceded in 2015. Despite recent struggles, there is no doubt that Marc Jacobs holds a coveted role in the contemporary history of American fashion. Jacobs has carved out his brand as a major fashion label, with successful release of his ready-to-wear clothing. But it is his expansion into perfumes and cosmetics that has kept the brand afloat in this contemporary zeitgeist, with signature scents Marc Jacobs for women, Daisy, Lola and Honey, all dominating the perfume market, as well as cosmetics such as the renowned Remarkable foundation, powder blushes and lipsticks, rivaling even the top makeup brands. His latest release in February 2018, The Shameless Foundation, is inspired by Jacobs' shameless attitude and his tattoo that serves as a daily reminder to never apologize for being you. It reflects Jacobs' belief that everyone should be proud of their personal appearance and display their so-called quirks with pride.
The idea of shameless and showing your true colors, being who you are, unapologetic and proud.
one of the most important characteristics in terms of a contemporary youthful look is not that like heavy sort of makeup, but something that's fresh and that breathes and that allows the radiance and the texture of the skin to come through. And we work very hard making sure that the formulas do deliver, but not at the expense of one's own natural radiance and texture and quality of their skin.
Jacobs specifically asked British model and activist Adua Aboah to model the line, as he believed her beautifully freckled complexion would best express the line's message, that your skin and real self is celebrated with this product. Jacobs and Adua Aboah are long-time collaborators, so it was no surprise that she became the face of his newest product line. In fact, it was Jacobs who gave Aboah her first ever fashion show in New York City. Additionally, it is the philosophies they seem to share which has really solidified their collaboration. Diversity is something that's important to me, and it's something you always see with casting for Marc shows, says Aboah, who founded Girls Talk and has been a leading voice in the Black Lives Matter movement. Adua Aboah is just one of the many atypical models that Jacobs has opted to work with over the traditional archetype. Jacobs has a long history of working with more well-known figures over fashion models, his celebrity friends including Sofia Coppola, Cher, Winona Ryder and Miley Cyrus. These are figures that shape the zeitgeist that he reflects in his fashion, so it only makes sense that he pays homage to them by modeling his works on them.
I'm interested in celebrity because I'm also interested in, I think the psychological side, what makes people want to perform and what makes anybody want to do a show or write a book or be recognized for the work they create. I think this comes down to what I find very easy to talk about, which is this wanting of attention, which I think every child comes into this world wanting attention, and if it didn't get it from its mother, it would die. But I think that desire for attention reaches certain levels, different levels in different people. And so they have this absolute passion for expressing themselves. And I think that first and foremost, it comes from their own desire to create. But that also is contingent on the audience, because just to create isn't really all they want. They also want to show what they've created, and they want a response.
Jacob is the counterculture, but highly respected name in fashion that we have all come to admire, as much for his aesthetic as the message behind what he chooses to represent and highlight as beautiful. Through Jacob's illustrious career, he has never lost his gritty New York beginnings, or that 70s ideology where what is weird is wonderful. Though his brand may have stumbled in recent years, what has ultimately kept it above water is Marc Jacobs' celebration of uniqueness. A forefather in the 21st century's face of fashion, Marc Jacobs is amongst the most celebrated American designers of his generation.